Hi and hello, and hope you all can hear me. I am going live in a few moments. Okay, hi and hello and good evening. And it's a late Sunday evening. In fact, it's Sunday night and it's 9 p.m. So I am here today basically to talk a little bit about how you guys could take it to the next step in college and university life, and also when you feel that you've got your exams coming up and you feel that you're at the end of your spirit and you don't have any time or the will or the enthusiasm or the strength to do anything, and at that point in time you feel that okay, I give up hope and I'm failing or I'm not able to do well. And that's where we need to actually focus and prioritize on what we need to do as students. Now you all are students out there, and you realize that your parents have spent a lot of hard work and perhaps thousands of dollars to send you to college and to university. And in university, when you go to university, you realize that we have wonderful curriculum out there in whatever course you're studying. And at this point, I'd probably focus on medical students, but as much as this is more towards any student who you wish to feel that you want to be inspired to study. Now, we all develop curriculum maps for you guys to study well. We have teaching calendars to make sure that you are taught to appropriate standards. And lecturers go through a lot of professional development so that lecturers are well versed in how to teach you. And we are using best practices in the classroom and in the wards and in the hospitals and wherever we teach you. We develop assessments for you all so that we can even track your progress on how you're studying. But despite having the perfect lesson plan in place, at particular points, students still do fail. Students still don't perform well. And sometimes we feel that I'm not going anywhere. As much as I try my best to study, I'm not going anywhere. So what is it that we need to do as students when it comes to putting our best into practice, putting our best into making sure that our parents' money is put to best use? Remember, each of you, when you study, your parents are investing a lot of money in you. Of course, you can always say, my parents have given birth to me, so it's their duty to make sure that I am educated. Well, I'm going to take you through a series of steps, maybe 6 or 7 steps, which you can use to help you maybe study well, focus on your exams, and do well not only for your MBBS but for whatever other program that you guys are doing. You may be doing biomed science, you may be doing dentistry or engineering or whatever. But basically, these are some points, a lot of which I had done as a medical student, and a lot of which I see in my students as well, which I thought I'll share today with you. Okay, so here goes. I hope you guys have had your dinner. I'll maybe take about 20-30 minutes. That's about it. Number 1 rule for the day: prioritize your goals. If you wish to be on the top, you need to make sure that academics or study is your top priority. Now, even though it's essential for you to take out time with family, friends, outings, you should reach a stage when you say that enough is enough. You guys go ahead and have your evening dinner or night dinner or weekend parties or weekend plans. I need to sit and study because I need to focus on my class for the forthcoming week, or I need to focus on assignments, or I just need to sit and I need to work on my textbooks. So wasting time is unaffordable for you. And even if it's Netflix era, you have Netflix, please cut down on all entertainment, because you have just 3 years if it's a basic bachelor's degree, 4 years if it's a bachelor's degree with honors, and 5 years if it's an MBBS or a dentistry degree. And these 5 years are valuable to you because you don't have much time Every moment is precious. Trust me, when you reach your clinical years, year 3, year 4, and year 5, you'd be in the wards all day and you'd come home exhausted, knowing that you have to go back to the wards the next day to clock your patients. So, time is valuable, wasting time is unaffordable. So, the next time, as a student, if your parents call you out for a dinner or lunch or meeting out with grandparents or meeting out with people, you can straight away tell them, no, thank you. Wasting time is unaffordable for me. So, number 2, well, even though it's not a separate point of its own, it's part of prioritizing goals. We as employees and workers in every industry, whether it is Google or Amazon or whether it is a medical university, when we work, our bosses tell us to set goals, and the same goal setting would be useful for you to achieve something in your academic life. As you climb up in your career, as you work for somebody, as you work for an employer, you will be taught that you have to make goals which are called SMART goals, SMART. As much as it doesn't pertain to students, but at this point I would tell you all to think of planning SMART goals. SMART, S stands for specific. You have to have specific goals. That is, I need to study cardiovascular system, respiratory system, gastrointestinal system over the next 3 weeks. It should be measurable. Every day you need to measure how much you studied. Achievable, because you need to achieve what you have studied. You should be able to complete what you have planned. It should be relevant to what exam you're studying. If you're studying for the USMLE, it has to be relevant to that kind of studies. Or if you're studying for your end of module exams or for your first professional exam, your study has to be relevant to that. And timely. Slot different type slots in the day. Now, I always tell my students, just before your exams, you have about 2 weeks of study holidays. Now, I start with cardiovascular system the first 3 days. I move on to the respiratory system next 3 days. Then I move on to the gastrointestinal system. But by the time I've started GI, I've forgotten everything that I've studied in CVS. And by the time I'm finishing GI, I finished everything in CVS and RS in Respi. So how do I study? Be smart. Smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, blah, blah, blah. Every day, morning 2 hours cardiovascular system, the next 2 hours respiratory, the next 2 hours gastrointestinal, and the last 2 hours hematology. Day 2, topic B in CVS, Respi, GI, hematology. Day 3, day 4, and so on. So at the end of 10 days, you've covered everything in cardio, Respi, GI, hematology, so that by the end of the 10th day, you are still in touch with each of the systems that you have studied. And at the same time, you haven't forgotten any system. It's like watching a James Bond movie. You watch 3 or 4 movies. By the time you reach the 5th movie, you've forgotten what the first movie was, because all James Bond movies are the same. Well, almost look the same. And so make sure that you're in touch with each subject every day, so that you don't lose track of it. So try to have your goals as SMART goals. And when you have SMART goals, you can actually achieve what you want to do in your exams. And Trisha has asked, how would you recommend studying for year 1 MBBS? Well, all these examples I'm quoting now is for year 1 MBBS right now. So cardiovascular, respiratory, gastrointestinal are all in your year 1 MBBS programs. Okay, so that's as far as working towards SMART goals is concerned. Point number 2, this is very important. Be punctual. Now, if you're wondering how to be successful in university or college or even school, now punctuality is one of the important qualities that you need to know. For those who again go into your clinical years, you'll find that you'll need to, your classes would start at 8 in the morning, but you'll have to be there at 7 in the morning to clock your patient so that you present it to the chief. When your classes start at 8, or when your ward rounds start at 8 and you come rushing in at 8:15, it already gives you a wrong impression to your chief. Tomorrow it's going to give you a wrong impression to your patients when your clinic starts at maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, and you come sauntering in at 9:30 because you had a late football match last night. So be punctual. Now your university success will never be fruitful if you ignore punctuality. So plan all your activities beforehand so that you're punctual in what you do. Now when we were students, our hospitals were a 1 hour drive from the university campus. I'm sure it's the same for many of you, for those of you in many universities. Some of you are in HKL, some of you are in Saramban, and by the time you travel back from university in the morning to classes in the afternoon, you'll need a lot of time traveling and you'll be late for class. So plan it accordingly. So punctuality is important. So number 1, set goals, prioritize yourself, and when you prioritize your goals, think of smart goals. And number 2 is be punctual. Punctuality is not just for your studies or for your career as well. It helps in everything that you do. Being there in time is important for you because you are there ahead of the competition and you have planned to even maybe have your coffee or your sandwich well in advance. Okay? Number 3. Some of these I've actually discussed last week when I had a chat with USMLE Malaysia. No cheating or plagiarism. Now, many of you guys don't understand the importance of plagiarism or the dangers of plagiarism, especially in the clinical years. Now, I can quote examples of what I've experienced among students 5-10 years ago when students need to submit your logbooks for your clinical cases. You'll have to write about 10 or 20 cases. You've had instances where the same case is plagiarized and the same words are used. Or self-plagiarism. A student finishes a posting and he is asked to repeat the posting because he has failed, and in the repeat posting he plagiarizes the same logbook. And now it is more common because everything is online. Online education system more favors plagiarism. So no matter what your circumstances are, don't cheat, don't plagiarize. You see, good grades are important, but so is gaining knowledge. When you're cheating, you're depriving yourself from gaining knowledge. And if you're cheating and copying others' work, tomorrow what is your credibility as a doctor? So don't join in even if your friends think it's okay, even if your friends say, hey, come on man, we have the seniors logbooks, we just copy paste from that and all that. Don't succumb to peer pressure. Okay? When anything like that comes, think about what will happen to you if you get caught. Instead of achieving what you deserve, you will be disqualified. Now, plagiarism is an offense. Many universities have a lot of different types of punishment for plagiarism, including suspension. So, are you willing to take a risk that big? Is something that you need to focus on. Okay, the next point, concentrate on what you do. Even long hours of staring at your open books is not studying. You can keep looking at the book, but your mind would be somewhere else. So even if you concentrate for short periods of time, it's okay. You concentrate for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Then 20 minutes, then 5-minute break. But when you start a topic, don't let your mind wander. Now, it's okay to take breaks of short durations, as I said, 20 plus 5, 20 plus 5, but don't let those gaps break your tempo. Now, short breaks are good. When you have a short break, also have a coffee break as well. A coffee break is always good because coffee is going to stimulate you. And for those of you who are studying late nights, there are 2 beverages I would recommend. One is green tea and the other is coffee. But over years, I tell you, medical students end up with insomnia, and battling insomnia is another bigger challenge. But that is, of course, many years after your medical school. So don't concentrate, and at the same time make sure that your concentration isn't there you don't force yourself to concentrate, so that you would lose your tempo anyway. So 20 plus 5 or 25 plus 5 is ideal, what I have done and what I would tell you also to do. What I do is I try to multitask while reading. I try to read 2 or 3 different books at the same time and then take off, at the same time in the sense, chapter from book A, a chapter from book B, and a chapter from book C. And then the next day I try to continue book A, B, and C, so that it helps me multitask and it helps my mind focus on 3 different areas. So you guys could do something like that, what I explained in the very first point on setting goals. Another thing that will help you guys study well is studying in groups. Now, when you study in groups, it will help you to study more effectively, and for the simple reason that when you study as a circle of friends, 3 or 4 of you studying together, one of you can study topic A, one can study B, one can study topic C, one topic D, and so on. And at the end of it, the person who studies topic A explains it to B, C, and D. The one who studies B explains it to A, C, and D, and so on. So each of you studies one topic, but when you explain your topic to 3 others, you get it more into your head, and you also get to hear 3 other topics from 3 others, while you spend your time learning only one topic. So studying as a friend also helps to motivate you compared to those who study alone, because it gives you benefits like you can understand concepts, you can explain it, or you can get your friend to explain it to you, and you can also complete your work more quickly if it is something like an assignment or a group work. And sitting as a group is actually going to help you, and it is a good way to gain knowledge. Okay. This is as far as studying for the sake of exams is concerned. Now you need to build up what you're doing for the future. I don't want you guys to be a bookworm. Take part in university activities. Take part in class activities. Now there are numerous activities conducted in universities. We have MedSoc, you have AMSA, you have so many different bodies. Participate in these activities. It could be debates, it could be dramatics, it could be sports, it could be culturals, because the more you participate in university activities, and you get to meet up with your teachers and your other colleagues and friends, and your networking. University activities is all about having fun and networking at the same time. It helps you to become part of the entire classroom, and this will also help you to develop a good relationship with your friends. Wait a minute, you're going to ask me, why should I network? Just know the first 3 points that I've been saying is all about studies, and suddenly I've been talking about networking. Very simple. I have a WhatsApp group of all my MBBS friends. There are about 150 of us. Over the years, we've got to know each other so much, we've networked so much, that now we refer patients to one another. So the more you network, the more you would feel like referring patients only to those people who you network with. So when you build up a good relationship among your friends, among your seniors, among your juniors, you may have an orthopedic surgeon, a pediatrician, an anesthesiologist, and so on. And if you happen to be an endocrinologist and you get a patient who has rheumatoid arthritis, you may think, okay, this guy John was my classmate, and hey John, I'd like to refer this patient to you. And it's easy for you, and at the same time you are still continuing to bond with your friends. Networking is important because you get support from each other, and it becomes more like a teamwork and a bigger networking spirit. Now let me give you the example of US Navy SEALs. You've seen Navy SEALs in movies and all that, all huge, strong, muscular. In real life, it's not the muscular people who become Navy SEALs. Many of them are just very normal, weak, puny people, but they work as a team and they help each other when they're down. So we all need to help each other when we're down. Sometimes we're down, we get help from others, and when you get help from others, that's possible only when you help others. So the next story is participate in all activities like you don't have a next day, because you have only 5 years in university life. And in these 5 years, you need to meet up as many people as possible, build up as many relationships as possible, and at the same time have fun. So I'm going to give a contradictory statement right now. When it comes to falling in love, try to fall in love after you finish your education. I've seen many students who are stuck with that person, so much so that they don't interact with everybody else and all their life is just with your partner. And at a time in college and university, when you need to be interacting with so many people, you narrow down your interaction to only one person. And okay, if you're going to get married to that person, it's okay. But if you break up, you'll realize at the end that I've wasted 5 years of my university life just hanging around with one person, while I could have interacted with so many people and I did not develop a relationship with my other friends and teachers. Another thing is your teachers. You will always need your teachers to actually help you, to refer you to various masters and postgraduate programs. Believe me, in many universities, you do your undergraduate program, and once you finish, you would actually apply for postgrad programs in a few places. At that point, you will actually need your teachers' reference letters. So, when I say participate in university activities, I also mean participate in activities which involve teachers as well. You never know when a teacher would help you. For the first 20 years of my career after my MBBS, I always relied on teachers to give me a reference letter. You'll always need a senior or a teacher to give you a reference letter until you reach an age where nobody above you is alive and you'll have to give a reference letter to those junior to you. Trust me, in the MBBS program or in any health sciences program, dentistry, allied health sciences, you will need each other's support for references, for referring patients, for networking, for so many things, even just to have fun, which is why it is important to take part in university activities and class activities. Okay, so we have done about 20-25 minutes so far. What have we seen till now? Number one, you will actually have to prioritize your goals. And when you prioritize your goals, you can use what we use in offices, which we call as SMART goals. Number two, be punctual. The last thing that a teacher wants is to see a student walk into class after he has started his class 10 minutes, especially if he's a clinical teacher in the ward rounds. And when you do a ward rounds, you take a class around a patient, and the patient would be disappointed in you. And the patient may feel that if this person is coming late, then what is the credibility that this person would have later as a doctor? Number three, we discussed about cheating and plagiarism. Number four, on concentration. And number five, on studying in a group. Okay, so anything else? Did I leave out anything? Participating in university and class activities. Okay, now this is as far as the university is concerned. Next, as far as you are concerned. Okay guys, I need to tell you something. I'm using two phones at the same time, which is why my eyes are moving from side to side, because I don't use a Restream to cast from Instagram to Facebook, which is quite complicated. So I've kept two phones next to each other, so you'll find my eyes move. The next thing, which is more important, don't have unnecessary comparisons with your colleagues or friends. Even if others compare you to someone else, don't give much heed to it, especially if your parents compare you to another colleague or say this person is doing better while you aren't and all that. Just don't heed to it. It is a different thing to be inspired by someone, and it is a whole different thing if you are demoralized by comparing how others carry out their tasks. Different students have different ways of studying. Some of you would finish smaller topics first and go on to the bigger topics at the end. In my case, I would want to finish off the bigger chunk of the topic first, and then the smaller topics I listen to my headphones and I'd like to cover. There are some students who feel that the bigger topics are a lottery. I'll study that and I'll skip the smaller topics, and so on. So different students have different study styles. So the best way you can succeed. It is on your terms. It doesn't matter what your classmate does, what your lab partner does, or what your your colleagues or neighbors are doing. All it matters is success at the end. And success for you is different. Okay, your success may be because you want to end up doing something in Singapore. But the friend who is being compared to you may be wanting to go to the US. And there is another guy who may be extremely brilliant, and you're being compared to that person who at the end doesn't want to do anything, because all he is doing is studying his MBBS so that he can take care of his father's clinic after that. He doesn't have to study, but he's studying. So each one has your own path in life. Don't compare yourself. Comparison will confuse you. And at the end, you may end up settling for something far lower than what you really deserved. I chose pathology as a specialty. Everybody around me said, why don't you take orthopedics? Orthopedics is a manly subject. You see, pathology is something which, in those days, sexist remarks. Pathology is something where usually if you want to be a 9-to-5 housewife, you could take it and all that. And at that time, most of my pathology teachers were ladies. They used to come with novels, and they used to come with tiffin boxes, and we all thought that pathology was cool until I realized that was the calling for me. You may realize that general practice may be the calling for you. Somebody may realize that epidemiology is the calling for you. One of you may feel that I've done my MBBS, it's okay, I want to go and do my civil service and become a public servant. Some of you may feel that I've finished my MBBS, it's okay, I want to go into insurance or real estate. So each one has your own calling. So you may end up settling for something lower than what you really deserve. So don't compare. Don't let others compare. Don't let your parents compare you with anybody else. Well, I can't say don't let. They will. Just try to circumvent it. Okay. You've studied so far. You've done well. You've written your exams. You come out of the exam hall. Don't discuss the paper with your friends. Just go home. Enjoy. The results come out. What is your score? What do you think your score will be? Bad luck. I got a C. It's okay. The next exam I'll get an A. That's the mistake everybody does. Don't go straight away for an A. Don't have unrealistic expectations. Now, unrealistic expectations can disappoint you. It will demotivate you. So, instead of jumping straight away for an A, go for a progress in a step-by-step manner. Improve little by little. And if you have a steady pace, you carry your work in a relaxed way. Now, I tell you, there is a book on how to run a marathon. As you know, marathon runners run 43 kilometers, 42 point something, almost 43 kilometers. No marathon runner starts with the idea that I am reaching my 43rd kilometer. Everyone, the book says, everyone has to start running. Let me finish the next kilometer. Let me finish the next and the next and the next and so on. Okay, so do that after a C, or if you think you fail, let's come straight to it. If you failed a module, don't straight away aim for an A. Go for a next C. If you've got a C, aim for a B and so on. Go in a step-by-step manner, because if you're going to leap too much, it's going to be difficult. Of course, this is exactly controversial to what many people feel, that aim for the top and you reach anywhere midway, it would be great. That is good when it comes to business. But when it comes to studies, when you aim for the top, especially when you're in the lower run, you're going to stress yourself out all the more. And the more stress, the more dangerous it is for you, because stress as a student is going to hit you right up there in the cerebral cortex, and you can never recover if you fail again. Okay? Now, some of us have taken the course that we like, we love. Some of us have done it because our parents are compelling us. Some of us are doing it because we had no other option. This is probably the only thing I could get with my marks. Let me just go ahead, let me trudge and let me finish the course and let me get a job. Now, whatever study you do, start developing a liking for it or a love for it, you will perform better. If it's something that you're doing as a chore and you become a machine that is trying to score A's, take an interest in whatever you're studying. And now, of course, it's not possible to get excited about every single thing that you study. Some things may be difficult, some things may be stressful. For example, even for if you're doing internal medicine, cardiovascular is very exciting. You get to keep a stethoscope here and there, and you can auscultate a patient. But when it comes to the nervous system, anterior tract runs from the spinal cord and crosses over to the other side into the cerebrum. The posterior tracts go over and cross over into the internal capsule. Wait a minute, no, it's the other way around. CNS is always difficult. So it's difficult to get excited about everything that you study in class. So don't deliberately force yourself to generate interest artificially. So how do you do it? Focus on, as I told you some time earlier, focus on what interests you best. And later on, you can add a little bit on things that don't interest you so much more, so that it's supplementing what you know best. You do your research outside classroom on a particular subtopic. If nervous system is difficult, if central nervous system is difficult, do what I told you a few minutes ago. Study as a group. Cardiovascular system is your specialty. You study it and you explain it to your friends. Your friend studies the nervous system and he explains it to you, so you understand it better. And for everything, use a paper, pen, draw or write. There's no better way to learn than write. Now, going back to what I told you about plagiarism, if you're copy pasting something, it won't go into your mind. But if you're writing something originally, or when you're listening to a lecture notes and you write down notes, you don't have to study it once again because you're writing it. Many students still follow old school and write with the paper and pen. So do I. It helps a lot with remembering it. Some of us type. Typing is also okay. Make sure you use whichever media you find more effective. Okay, so in summary, we are about 35 minutes into the session, so I'm going to wind up. In summary, we actually discussed a lot of things today. Now going in reverse order, in the second part, I told you to get excited about what you study. And if you can't get excited, take breaks, add some excitement to it, study as a group, and look forward to going to university and college and catching up with friends and adding up to the excitement. Go slowly in progress. Don't compare, refrain from unnecessary comparisons. It's going to hurt you in the long run. Take part in all the university activities. Now, taking part in university activities, remember there are two parts of it. Number one, in the first aspect is when you take part in university activities, it helps you to mingle with a lot more people. Number one, you don't become a nerd. Number two, you get to meet more people, your mind calms down, relaxes, and it diffuses out to more thoughts. Number three, you're networking with your friends. Number four, you're connecting with your peers and your seniors and your lecturers who may always help you later on. Number five, as I said, a controversial topic, don't fall in love while in university. You'll end up mingling with just that same one girl or just that one guy, and at the end of 5 years, you'll realize I wasted my time during this time when I could have mingled with thousands of people and developed my networking. Especially so, if you're going to break up after 5 years, you'll really regret it. Okay? And what else did we see? We saw, I told you about studying in a group. Okay? Make sure you study as a group, so it helps you break the monotony, and you listen to 5 different topics considering that you've studied only one topic. Okay, and be punctual and set smart goals. Now going to some of the questions that you asked. How do you actually find which specialty is for you and which is not in our clinical year if we can't make up our mind about which specialty to take? Now, everyone would go through the basic 5 specialties: medicine, surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics and orthopedics in your clinical years, and also a little bit about ENT, ophthalmology, forensics, community medicine, and a little bit on anesthesia and radiology as compulsory subjects in your clinical years. And after that, when you do your masters, you can decide on what subject to do. We'll have a separate session on which are the hot subjects that will be in for you without losing your job in the next 10 years, maybe sometime after a couple of weeks. One of you has asked, studying in a group can be risky too. Friends cannot explain as well as you do, and later you might not even read the topic sometimes. Well, stress macrophage, I should tell you, there is one category of students who would come to college every day, who would come to university every day and say that I didn't study last night at all. I slept. And these are the kind of guys who you shouldn't believe, because these fellows would have studied all night and they would come to actually just beat around the bush and make sure the others don't study, and then again go the same next night and then study again. We've had a lot of students like that in my time in university. So that's why I said, don't compare yourself to others, just do what you have to do. You'll have some students who come and say, don't study tuberculosis, it came last year in the exams, you won't get it this year. Don't study rheumatoid arthritis and all that. Trust your instincts. And some seniors may say, forget about cancers, forget about squamous cell carcinomas, it won't come. If it doesn't come, the senior would say that, yeah, see, I told you it wouldn't come. But if it comes in the exam, all the senior will say is that, sorry man, bad luck, I thought it wouldn't come. So you are your own judge. How to battle procrastination? Dineshwaran, I think you're the same guy who comes out in the gym. I see you in the gym every day, if I'm not mistaken. Well, if you're coming to the gym without procrastination, it shows that you have self-determination and punctuality. And you need to have self-determination and go for your goals and objectives, and automatically procrastination will go away. And every point in time, just say that this is what I'm doing because my parents have invested in me, and I'm fighting a race against time, because if I don't finish in time, the others would get ahead of me and start earning or start getting the master's degree which I should have got. Okay, if there are no other questions, wait, hold on. Okay, can you talk about business medicine? Okay, entrepreneurship in medicine is a separate topic of its own. Now, many medical curricula have introduced entrepreneurship in medicine. You know why? Because once you finish medicine, you end up as a nerd seeing patients. You need to know how to run your clinic, how to maintain your clinic, how to balance your stock, how to budget for the forthcoming year. Or if it's a hospital, you need to climb up the leadership strata. You would become an administrator. So for all this, we have different courses which are entrepreneurship in medicine, and you get to do this in your final year and also a little bit in your housemanship, along with professionalism and personal development modules. But we can always talk about business, so-called business medicine or entrepreneurship in medicine later on. There are many students after MBBS go on to do their MBA, and they're armed well enough to head hospitals or to start hospitals of their own. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I hope we had a good session today. And once this recording is up, I'll actually put it up on the story, and then we could revisit and review it, and maybe I'll just upload it on my YouTube channel as well, MedVisit Educator. So have a rest of a good Sunday evening. It's about 9:40 now. Still time for a dinner and a cup of green tea. And have a good week starting tomorrow. Take care and have a nice day. Ciao.